Donald Trump's inauguration obviously has just happened. Do you think if you were to lead the next Australian government, you would have a better relationship with President Trump rather than the Albanese government?
Look, there's no doubt in my mind. I think the philosophical differences between the Prime Minister and President Trump are obvious. The Prime Minister found comfort in his relationship with Jacinda Ardern and Justin Trudeau and other left-leaning leaders around the world. That's the reflection of just on the Prime Minister's life and his outlook. He's been the leader of the hard left of the Labor Party for decades. What does he have in common with Donald Trump? What common ground could they find in relation to key issues? It's hard to imagine much at all. So there's no doubt in my mind that we can have a very effective relationship and a productive relationship and a respectful relationship mutually. With the Trump administration, in a government that I lead, we have people of the calibre of James Patterson, who has very good relationships with key individuals within the Trump administration, similarly with Andrew Hastie, Angus Taylor, myself, and I dealt with the Trump administration Mark I with the Trump 45 administration. So I feel very confident in the relationship that we could quickly build, and I think it would be to our country's benefit that we're able to leverage off that.
You dealt with the administration on national security matters, of course.
Yeah.
I'm Peter Dutton, looking at how you might strengthen national security. You were Home Affairs Minister while Donald Trump was President the last time. The agency was one of the most formidable in the Australian government. That has now been dismantled under Albanese. You've got Tony Burke as the minister, which is almost a joke. Would you return Home Affairs to its former strength?
We would, and not for any ideological reason. We knew out of the 9/11 attacks that part of the reason that those attacks took place was that the agencies were working in silos, and the agencies needed to come together to share intelligence to prevent another attack. And we, when we formed Home Affairs, had in mind that we wanted ASIO to have a better relationship with the AFP, with the Australian Border Force, with the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission. And by bringing all of those agencies together in Home Affairs, we stopped terrorist attacks from taking place. I think we're a less safe country now. And you ask yourself the question, well, why would the Albanese government have pulled apart Home Affairs? Well, firstly, they don't understand national security. That much is obvious. They always take money out of the agencies. And if we are serious about stopping these terrorist attacks on synagogues and on childcare centres and at people's homes, etc., then I think the coordination role that Home Affairs plays, and not just with the federal agencies but with the state agencies as well, we would give ourselves the best chance of defeating the scourge of terrorism that's present in our country right now if Home Affairs was to be brought back to life.
Trump has announced a range of executive orders, including that there's only two genders, a man and a woman. He also has pledged to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. Does it seem to you that the age of woke ideology is now coming to an end, and there's this sense globally that people have just had enough?
I think there is, and I think particularly when people are struggling to pay their bills, they can't pay their mortgage, their insurance has gone up, their grocery bill's gone up, they just see a government with the wrong priorities. And I think people are sick of being ostracised and sick of being vilified, and I think the Voice in our country, to be honest, allowed people an opportunity to be able to speak again about issues that they felt important, including Australia Day, which I think is an important debate for our country to have. We're not going to have reconciliation when we have people living under three different flags. We have one national flag, and that's incredibly important. So I think there is everything in life's a cycle, but I think this is turning, and I think there is going to be a near revolution that comes with the Trump administration in relation to a lot of the woke issues that might be fashionable in universities and at the ABC, but that just aren't cutting it around kitchen tables at the moment, where people can't pay their bills under the Albanese cost of living crisis.
Do you think some of those issues Australians here also are frustrated by, that Trump spoke about today?
Yeah, no question, and I think those debates will continue here in our country as well. I think on energy the debate has shifted quite significantly because the pennies dropped that the renewables only policy is just going to keep driving your cost of electricity up, and that we're going to have blackouts and brownouts, and the fact that manufacturing businesses have closed, threefold in number over the last 2.5 years, and people want a sensible, common sense outcome and approach by their leaders, and as opposed to the path that the Prime Minister's had us on.
Would you consider withdrawing from Paris?
I think we've been pretty firm in our commitment to net zero by 2050, and that's a commitment that we take seriously and that we'll honour. I think it'll be interesting to see where the United States goes and what influence that has in Europe and elsewhere around the world over the course of the next couple of years. I think the defence space is an interesting one. I think in the first administration, President Trump was able to leverage NATO partners into extra funding in their own budgets for defence. And so, I mean, the President has moved markets even before his inauguration, which is quite phenomenal. And obviously with his executive orders today, he's sent a very clear intent. And I think the lessons of the first term will have been learnt, and it will make a much more definite approach in this term. And I think the President has a very clear perspective on what he wants to do in relation to many of these issues, climate included. And yeah, I think some of those debates obviously naturally will unfold here as they will across the world.
All right, Peter Dutton, really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Sharri.
Thank you
very
so much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.